Hello, here is one reason why Australia is going to take over the, I suppose, ideological leadership position within, or I should say cultural leadership position within Southeast Asia. Real honey, it's a soda that's made with actual honey and it doesn't taste weird, it tastes like actual honey. And, you can see how it's almost impossible to dislike, Australia if you're here because they make the best yogurt from a company called Browns with an E. And they also don't have any sort of, they're lucky to be able to trade with people who don't have any enemies. Because in Malaysia, where I am now, you can even get honey from the Middle East. And this is the interesting one that has the actual honeycomb inside. So, it's not just that. If you're in Europe, I doubt you'll be able to find any Arabic products. And well, this is a cinnamon stick. And again, this is just a small example, but if you believe, like I do, that food is the way to anyone's heart, regardless of ideology, race, religion, and so on, it's going to be impossible not to favor Australia because of its outsized influence within the food industry in Southeast Asia. And so if you're following politics or following ideology, and you understand that since 1955, that China has had a policy of cultural non-interference. In other words, they will build relationships based on trade and infrastructure, not necessarily anything else. And so as a result, there is a bit of a void when it comes to, I suppose, creating a leadership position in other areas. And that opens a sort of a door for the Australians to come in. Although Malaysia, of course, if you want to, study the Chinese actually, because so many Chinese immigrants came to Bangkok, came to Kuala Lumpur, came to Malaysia. You've got an amazing opportunity here in Malaysia to teach the rest of the world about China. And so I think that China, the CCP, is going to have to revise its policy of non-interference at some point, unless it wants the rest of the world to tell its story. And which will be through, for the most part, its immigrants all over the world. There's hardly a big city anywhere, at least not a successful one, without Chinese immigrants. And now, of course, that China has become a much more stable place without as much foreign interference. You can see how the worldwide economy is starting to, I suppose, slow down a bit. Because it's very obvious that when you have this sort of combination of getting the best of the world, the most ambitious people from all over the world, particularly from China, which invented the compass and so many other things, paper. The Muslims, by the way, were able to spread Islam because they used to write the Quran on essentially leather, like animal hides. But then because they traded with China, they were able to get paper and they were able to use calligraphy, and that, of course, you want beautiful things, whether it's religion, whether it's art. The most successful ideologies have always combined, art and, whatever thoughts that they had. This is actually also true of National Socialism. If you look at what they did with the swastika, they simply reversed a sign that was a religious symbol so they copied and then reversed it and so on and so forth. So the bottom line here is that if you're Australian, good. You have an opportunity to take up the mantle that the Americans have dropped in this area. And the Americans are now using their influence, primarily through military action. Not necessarily proxy wars, but just simply, for example, getting the Philippines to antagonize China. And that's not really a position that's going to be a long-term solution to anything. And so if you're Australia, good on you. You've got an opportunity. And I don't know how long that window is going to be open, but clearly it's almost impossible to dislike anybody from Australia, given how much its trading policies have affected just everyone here and exposed everyone here to a lot of products and food that they wouldn't otherwise have access to. Now that goes with cheese. You want a pizza, you need cheese, and so on and so forth. So hopefully the Australians will, sort of take up this challenge and opportunity.